We honor the heaviness and the hardness of closing a school, and we want to make sure that we make that known tonight, but we also want to come with enthusiasm and hope in what this potentially may offer our community going forward. So you will be able to hear from each of the proposals this evening. We have 3 different vendors. And you will also, after each presentation, have a 15-minute period of time to ask questions. You can ask any question you like to be able to get clarification that you maybe need personally, or for your colleague, or for your organization, or for your school, wherever you are coming from, to be able to understand, the proposals that you're going to be hearing from. And then ultimately, we hope that you will provide your feedback either after tonight or after this weekend by visiting the survey. There's QR codes kind of taped all over the room. They're also on the last page of the packet that you have. If you scan that QR code with your phone, it will pop up with a survey. I believe it's 3 questions, so it'll be really quick. But essentially, we're going to provide an opportunity for you to tell us if you support the proposals you hear tonight, if you oppose them, and then tell us why. And this is important because your feedback and the survey results following tonight will be one of the 3 main components that will go into the final recommendations for the repurposing of this building. So we take your voice very seriously, and it will be part of the components that are used. The schedule for tonight, we're going to start, these are in alphabetical order, no other reason but just ABC order. So we're going to start with our first vendor, which is Axel Academy. We'll take a 5-minute break to transition and allow the next vendor to set up. We will then be followed by the APS Early Childhood Center, Education Department. We'll take a 5-minute break after that, and then we'll finish the evening hearing from Colorado UpLift, which is our 3rd vendor. So this is, I'm not going to obviously read through this slide, but this is to just kind of ground us in where we are in this entire repurposing process. So we started this back in November, and we started with community input. So we went out, we conducted focus groups, we had surveys, we had community input nights, and we asked our community really 2 main questions. What do you value, and what do you prioritize with regard to facilities, where you live? For this particular building, we took the feedback that we received, and we can't see it. Christy, can you turn the lights off? So we started with community input, and so how we designed our RFP process, which is our request for proposals, is we said up front, here are the things that our community said that they value and they want to see. We were able to incorporate that into the first scorecard and rubric that was used to score these proposals. And you'll see in that packet, one of the questions is, does this proposal align with what the community has said they wanted? And also, does it align with district priorities? So we started with that in phase 1, but you can see that little red circle, or maybe you can't see it, we're working on it. We are now in this phase 3 where we're doing these community presentations. And the last step will be bringing final recommendations to our board in May. So some of the different proposals we received were really given to us in 3 different categories, right? So we had some proposals that said, we would like to purchase this site and turn it into X, Y, Z, right? Or we had proposals that said we would like to lease this building from Aurora Public Schools, and here's what that relationship might look like. And then we also had proposals for future district use, which means we would continue to own this building and we would continue to operate an APS program in this building. You are going to hear from actually all 3 of those categories tonight, specifically for this building. And right, there are various different impacts on the district based on those different types of proposals for consideration. When we started this process, we established some guiding principles that we have worked very hard to stay true to throughout this entire process since the fall. One is making sure that we are prioritizing uses for these buildings that align with the community's values and our district's priorities. Second is that we're making sure that we assess proposals in their ability to actually carry out ideas, right? We could receive lots of great ideas, but if this building can't actually turn into those ideas, it is not something that should be considered. I always use the example of a swimming pool, right? If we want to turn this into a swimming pool or Olympic swim stadium, that might not work out. So feasibility is definitely important. The other thing is that we wanted to make sure that every single step of this process was transparent to you. We have been very cognizant of making sure that our community is aware and understands what we have done, how we have collected input, and what we're doing with your input. And that's part of why we're here today. And then we also, of course, are reviewing the financial viability of proposals that we're receiving to make sure that they are feasible. So we have conducted phase 1 of our review. And what that means is we had a repurposing committee that actually already read through these proposals in their entirety and gave them a score. That's what's in those packets. So if you didn't grab one, if you want to raise your hand, I'm happy to bring one to you. But it will show you with each of the criteria what score the vendor received with regards to that criteria. You can see right there, I won't read them all, those were the things that were used to score. We looked at alignment to community values and also feasibility, like physical feasibility, financial feasibility, and the ability for this building to turn into this idea. So the finalists that were advanced by the committee and the interim superintendent are the vendors that you're going to hear from tonight. Axel Academy, APS Early Childhood Education Department, and Colorado UpLift. So tonight, what we're asking of you is we're asking you to listen, ask questions, and at the end of this evening, we're asking you to answer the questions on this screen via our survey, which is which proposals do you support, which ones do you believe are aligned, and what do you think is the best one that fits your needs and your opinions and priorities personally and within this community. Just so you have an idea of how we will use your feedback, the 3 things that go into a final recommendation to our board is the scorecards that are in your packet by our committee, the results from the survey following this evening, and then alignment to the guiding principles.
Thank you for letting us present to you today on why we're the best fit for occupying Sable Elementary as we move forward through this academic year and going into next year. This is my first year at Axel Academy, and I've been part of Aurora Public Schools for the last 9 years and now part of Axel Academy and their charter network. At Axel, we truly inspire our vision of being engaged, empowering, and achieving. And through our expeditionary learning focus, we truly want to engage our community, our scholars, and our parents, and our board to really move forward in a positive process. And as we do that, we empower our scholars as well, our staff, our community to be more confident in the skills we're trying to develop with them and aligning to the Aurora Public Schools values as well. At the end of the day, we want them to achieve. And that achievement really comes through, what are they going to do in high school? What are they going to do moving forward after high school from that experience, from our PK through 8th grade experience at Axel Academy. We do have a pre-K through 8th grade that really does lend to engaging, empowering, and achieving. And then our mascots, the Owls. We had a marketing committee come together and create this name that we have for our Owls, is On We Lead, as we move forward through this process. If you've ever been to Axel right now, we're at a strip mall, which doesn't have a gym or a true cafeteria. And as we truly think about where our scholars, what they deserve and our families deserve, is having this insight right here, having this gym, having an opportunity to be in a true school. So with that, back in 2022, Axel was voted the best charter school in Aurora. And with that recognition, that truly does think about the achievement that what has been done in the building that they've been in so far. And that speaks to the professional learning that our staff goes through Expeditionary Learning. It goes through what our scholars are thriving to do on that hands-on, project-based learning approach through Expeditionary Learning. And so when that happens, we really think about that empowerment, the confidence that our scholars have every single day. And that's when that award was awarded to Axel Academy. And so through that Expeditionary Learning focus, our scholars go through our trimesters really working towards a project-based approach, where at the end of the trimester is what we call fieldworks. And scholars get to really enhance themselves, going into the community, serving the community, learning from the community, and giving back to the community to make sure that what they learned in their classes connects to real-world experiences. And so with that being said, that aligns to the Aurora Public School core beliefs. Our scholars need a plan of action. They need to make sure they're moving forward with the skills to develop, making sure that they are successful in their academics and also for our society and the Aurora community. So we take a whole child focus. Like I said, we're pre-K through 8th grade. We have AM, PM, pre-K, as well as kindergarten through 8th grade that really, we create some vertical alignment of our planning to really support our scholars' growth from each grade level band. And so, for example, our scholars have access to arts, PE, and as we move forward into getting a proper, I feel like I'm in a club. As we move forward, as we move forward, we really think through our elective classes and what we can offer coming into a building like this. The space that we would have to offer more dance, offer more creativity spaces in a sense of having our scholars not only learn about film, but have that our ELD scholars will have oral practice within film production and really giving through a facet of how they're learning their education. And so with that being said, we really think through every facet of how this building could be used for our elective classes and the movement and collaborative spaces that our scholars need to be able to be prepared for jobs that haven't been created yet. We think about our workforce that's happening in the next 15, 20 years. Our scholars really need to know how to collaborate in different types of spaces to really support them in their oral language development, have that academic vocabulary to move forward, to have that confidence of that achievement piece to really move forward. And as we think about where our scholars are at today, they're achieving at Axel. We think about where they can move even further and have that access to where we want to take Axel. As we think about our strategic planning for Axel in the next 5 to 7 years, we could really enhance this campus into a high school component and thinking about our enrollment moving forward into a high school. And so those are some areas that we as a community are really talking through to make that whole child focus really stamp what Axel is about. And so that expedition learning focus moving forward into a high school experience would really be supportive to help the Aurora community grow, as well as help our scholars grow from the next level. So an expeditionary learning focus, as we think about our scholars and how they're coming to school every single day, we really think through their character. Each scholar is tied to a crew. And when we say crew, they are tied to a teacher for that grade year and really thinking through how they help support, build that character for their education, but also as them as a human. And we take that humanistic approach to really have that enhanced every single day, to meet with that crew teacher, to talk about their responsibility, talk about their character in the sense of what is their social awareness, self-awareness around that social emotional learning to how them move forward to be a good teammate. And so if we think about crew, we are crew, not passengers. We come together. I would really think about the Axel community that's here today is really a crew coming together to support that next step that we deserve as for our scholars. As we think about our high quality work and we think about the impact that makes for our scholars, it's how our teachers plan. They truly backwards plan from that field work to see how they start from that beginning components of sequencing their lessons to make sure they're having that hands-on experience at the end of their field work. And so with that high quality work, scholars get feedback to see if they're really achieving at that high level. And they can really talk through and listen to their peers when they go on this field work. And we truly have that experience, and enhancing that experience would be even better in a space where we might not even have to leave campus sometimes, and we bring community partners in. And so those are some things that we've done through our Black History Month celebrations, through our Women's History Month celebration. We brought in community speakers, not only from the Aurora community, but from the nation, to speak to our scholars about different opportunities they have that lead Aurora, lead Colorado. And so those are some examples of what we can do, and they get feedback on that work. And they get to hear what truly is happening in the real world outside of the Axel walls. So as we think about it, I can speak all day long about this, about expeditionary learning, but I really want you to hear from our scholars on why they truly love Axel.
The reason why I like Axel is because it's friendly, there's a lot of nice people here.
What I love about Axel is everybody can be kind to each other, and also we can be nice. So what I love about Axel is I get to explore all around, craft things, and all that stuff.
The thing that I like about Axel is you can make friends and you learn about math, reading.
Guys, guess what? The field trip that we're having this month is coming up. Oh yeah! What I like about Axel is that everybody's really nice and nobody's bullying anybody, and they also have really nice teachers also.
One thing I like about Axel is it's a project-based school, so we make projects every trimester and it's really fun.
What I like about Axel is that there's more engagement and learning instead of sitting down, and the teachers here are nice and they make learning fun.
Lo que me gusta de Axel es que las maestras nos ayudan a aprender y nos divertimos a la vez.
So as we heard from our scholars, I think about that last scene of Axel spelt out. Right now, when we think about where Axel is, we have to go to Tierra Park across the street and set up different systems, different ways to play flag football, or different ways to set up practices. And our scholars deserve to have their own field to make their own sign for Axel. Our scholars deserve to really be a part of the Aurora community in a sense of having a school building. And so as I think about our project, we are going for a lease option to really move forward in the next few years to go to a purchase option. And so that'll take some time, but as we think about enrollment going up in a sense of us coming to this area to really support enrollment, that can really help us with that lease option to go into a purchase option. The other part of the growing Axel is through the support of being here where Sable is. We know that, that there was a lot of apprehension for Sable to go to different boundary schools, and we want to be able to support to have scholar spots here that live in the neighborhood to really support them still having this neighborhood school for them. And so with that, we really want to make sure that we're helping Axel grow as well as the Aurora community grow in that way. Making expeditionary learning accessible to all scholars. This is the beautiful way as we think about where our society is going to help scholars really enhance themselves, to communicate with different folks from different parts of Aurora being at this site. And so that access and getting scholars out and about into the community, not only in Aurora, but into the mountains, making sure that they're learning how to hike, learning how to ski, learning how to snowboard, doing all those things while being here at Axel is a real key component to really help support that expeditionary learning focus for all scholars. And then thinking about the increasing opportunity for community access. One thing we truly want to offer to the Sable community is really thinking about before and after school care for the community, not just for Axel families. But opening that up so families have that access to really know that Sable, the new Axel, can really help support that growth and support some stability to keep in the neighborhood. And then thinking through fieldwork experience as college and career access. A couple of avenues that we're looking to do is kids leaving here with credentials as they get into high school. And so thinking through how we're going to do our multilingual learner component of how our students are going to learn through that component is really to support through film production. So have that oral practice while they're learning the confidence and the technological skills that they need to be successful for the future workforce. And so with that, our choice of program is Expeditionary Learning with a whole child focus with a college and career readiness support. We had just submitted a grant to really support our college and career focus and our SEL focus for 2 counselors. And that's a focus that we want to make sure we bring to the community here. And then community access, making sure that we are available for our community to have access to this building for whatever they would need, and we would really want to support that. With that, this is our proposal team that came together. Just a little bit of my past, I was with Aurora Public Schools for 9 years. I understand what happens with a school getting repurposed. I was principal of South Middle School, where the first year that it started getting repurposed during the pandemic. And so those are some things that I know what Sable's processing through, so I really want to make sure that we're empathetic to knowing that it is hard, and at the same time, we have an option for you. These are some of our supports that helped us create the proposal. Tatanka Services really did our finance side, and National Valuation gave us some supports in how we would access of what the building would cost. So we do a lease to purchase option. Year 3, really taking a look at that and really hedging our bets in the sense of our enrollment's going to be going up. Now, I will leave it to any questions that you have.
My question is, when does school start?
If we are to come into this building, our start date would be August 17th. Even if we stay at Axel, our start date would be August 17th. So we are, the question was about transportation. Are we providing transportation from Axel moving forward if we were to move into this building? Yes, we are looking into providing Axel scholars transportation from the current Axel. We're 6 miles south from here right now. Our goal is to provide transportation for our current scholars and set up transportation routes to help support with transportation. We're going to determine if it's going to be for 1 year or 2 years. We haven't determined that yet. But that is our goal, and we are going to go through a process of looking for school buses.
We have a question back there.
Right here. Hi, thank you. What's your current school enrollment?
We are at 356 scholars. That includes our pre-K.
And what's your projected enrollment, or what's your goal?
Our goal is 375 for the first year, and then if the next 3 years, our goal is to be about 425, 450.
Do you have plans to make updates to the building or change the building at all?
As we want to be in the building for about 1 or 2 years to see what those updates would be. I know a couple of spaces that we do want to think about creating is some creative collaborative spaces for film production and pieces like that to really think through what expeditionary learning can be through film.
Okay, thank you.
I think we had a question up here. Dr. Carter.
Just 2 questions. In speaking to the current population at Axel, are they willing to move to Sable or what is their willingness to move to Sable, and how does that population align with the population here at Sable, and has there been any type of outreach?
So we have done community outreach with our parents. We did a survey of different areas that they would want to be. Sable Elementary came in second or third, I believe, of just different facets of where we could go within the community. And doing more during our parent coffees, the families have really reached out in a positive way of knowing that they want to be part of the transition. And so there's different things, but the transportation is the key piece that's been feedback. And so that's where we are looking to do that for our families.
Do you expect any type of population loss if you are granted move to Sable?
I would think there would be some families that are not going to choose that option to move that far. But if we could provide that transportation, I think we can gain some back. I couldn't tell you how many families would really be like, no, we're not doing that all the way, because that's not a good commute for us as families. So.
Huron, out of fairness, last evening we had our repurpose proposals presented at Paris, and I did ask the the vendor that was a charter school to just clarify for the audience how you do enrollment as a charter school versus a traditional public school.
So we do a application process through a lottery, and right now this past year what we did with our lottery is we accepted our scholars that had applied. And so we did a process in a sense that we had 90 applicants, and we went through our numbers and looked through where we needed to have numbers gain, and that's how we did our lottery this year.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So based off that last answer, is there a criteria or anything that a student needs to apply for the lottery?
What we do for the lottery is we look at their attendance, their behavior, and pieces like that, but anybody can apply. And we'll take the lottery, and then if we need to do a wait list, we'll do a wait list per grade, but it truly is a lottery in that way.
Thank you.
So what is the capacity of this school, student-wise, or approximately?
Sable?
Yeah, how many can it house or
I believe
effectively house?
450, I believe.
450, okay. And then also, is there any way to, and just because I'd like to know, is there any way to go backwards to the people that are part of the leadership of Axel? I know, I recognized a couple there. Yeah, right there. So with that being said, and I'm not discounting or downplaying, I don't recognize any of those leaders other than Sochi. She's been there for quite a while. What about who's the principal?
Dr. Jack Bissonette is right here.
Okay, great. And you look familiar. I just told my wife, he looks familiar. I'm not sure why. Honestly, I literally just said that. And how long have you been there as principal?
This is my second year.
Second year. Okay. Anybody else that has longer tenure than yours? Okay, yeah, this, and I know this young lady here.
Max, Max,
hey,
what's up, buddy?
I know some people.
Yeah, still here.
Good to see you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you.
Honestly. Thank you.
I've been here for 11 years.
All right, there you go.
11 years last. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. I did a little teaching there myself.
That's
Just
great.
saying. Awesome. Great. Thank you.
We have a question on this side.
So my question is, kids that are now used to be here in this school, there's a big community small community that live here around this area. So the kids are going to be, all over the place. But if they want to come to your school, would they be able to come in, they enroll in that school?
If we have the space, we will be taking applications, and we would be providing that space for scholars that are in this neighborhood. Yes.
And is there a support for kids that are like English is their second language, or like,
Yes, we have a multilingual learner department that we really are building out, and we're have a what we call a CLD teacher leader. As we have 2 teachers that are going to be dedicated to teaching those blocks of ELD classes, as well as having a creativity art component to it to help them learn the language through oral practice. And so we will be having that for next year moving forward.
Saw a couple hands over here. Director Reinhardt?
What is your current percentage within your population of special needs learners?
Our current population, Jack, would be probably about 14%, I believe.
And those services?
That's CLD, ESS combined, combining.
If I took CLDE out of that, could you give that number?
Be about
IEP students, I guess, is what I'm looking at.
8 to 9%. Yeah.
Okay.
But we do have the supports and services for that.
You have staff?
We have staff.
Your staff now for special education?
We have three dedicated staff members for ESS that are certified.
What about itinerant support? Itinerant support, PT, OT, speech language?
Yes, we have that through Children's Hospital to help you out in that way, and we outsource some of those services.
Thank you.
So my question is, if Axel does move here, will the school hours still be the same?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We would have to look at the transportation, and that's some of the analysis that we have to do. Our goal would be to keep it the same, but I think with transportation, we may have to change the entry hours.
Any additional questions for Axel Academy?
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm honored to have made it to this stage of the process. My name is Cynthia Cobb. This is my first year in APS. I am the Director of Early Childhood Education. I come to you by way of St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised. I just recently moved here in June, and it has been an incredible transition for myself and my family. Weather permitting, hopefully the snow is over. Now, I really love it, but we'll see. So a little bit about our agenda, our time together today. We'll go through the proposal team, some background on why I have submitted this proposal for building use of Sable Elementary as a child development center, a description of our proposal to you tonight, our proposed terms and the impacts on the surrounding community. Oh, that's a little dark, I'm sorry for that. So my proposal team is made up of myself, director. I work with 4 early learning consultants that have been in their role for, one started in July, the others have been there for nearly 10 years. They partner with the preschool facilitators and paras to plan professional development, PLCs, and partner with me during the interview process. I have an assistant, Jessica Lauren. She's the best thing since sliced bread, and I hope this is recorded and she's watching. The office administrator, Marissa Casillas, works with licensing and making sure our facilitators and paras have their proper credentials and our spaces are licensed according to regulations. And we have 2 enrollment clerks, Wendy Morales and Wendy Orduna, who are diligently working to handle the first round of UPK batches that just came from the state. So a little bit of background. Currently, the ECE department serves just under 2,200 preschool students, aged 3 and 4. Universal preschool will begin in fall 23-24. And in the Adams, Arapahoe counties, this is actually outdated, they proposed nearly 6,000 preschool eligible children enrolling in UPK. First round of batches, there were 28,000 applicants. Hence, why So criteria for UPK, just a little bit of background because I know it is a bit unclear for some families. All 4-year-old students, children, in the state of Colorado get 15 hours of free programming next year. You're 4, you get 15. If you are 4 years old with a qualifying factor, which is your family income, if you are a dual language learner, if you are in foster or kinship care, or if you're a student that has an IEP, an individualized education plan, you can qualify for additional hours of free programming per week. 3-year-old students qualify with one qualifying factor, have access to 10 hours per week. And again, the qualifying factors are the same as they are with 4s. So our classrooms will be composed of 3 and 4-year-olds in mixed age groupings that attend our schools next year in a Monday through Friday. For 4s, say 3-year-olds will go Monday through Thursday. So a bit of our proposal description. We are proposing repurposing Sable as a child development center next year. Currently, there are 4 child development centers across the district. Early Beginnings, which services our infants and toddlers, Jamaica CDC, Laredo CDC, and Meadowwood CDC. So we're looking for Sable CDC. With the acquisition of Sable, it allows us to serve an additional 400 students beyond our current capacity. And having the benefit of a child development center, it allows us to offer targeted support for our students in collaboration with the Exceptional Student Services Department. Having all of our students in one location for their child development center in a building such as this allows for our community to take a larger role in their students' learning. It allows us to get our children into our spaces in Aurora Public Schools so that we have the opportunity to give them a strong foundation before they transition into our K and beyond programming. So, I talk quickly, I'm sorry, the 15 minutes, I'll go much faster than that, sorry. So the impact of having Sable Child Development Center is that it provides a strong foundation for whole child development. One of the foundations of early learning is understanding who the whole child is and having those moments during the school day where you're doing, our facilitators and paras are conducting observations to think about students' social emotional development, their oral language development, how they're engaging with peers, how they can attend to a task. So having a facility that's strictly focused on developing the whole child will benefit our children as they mature through our system. There will be increased opportunities for oral language development, which will support our students in becoming strong readers and writers. As an early learning department, our goal is to increase our students' oral language development by 5% over the course of the year. That's done through various observations, using a tool that is district approved by the state to monitor development over time. Targeted instruction for preschool students with IEPs and those with autism. A part of the proposal in this acquisition allows for the opening of 2 autism classrooms within the building, which will support our students and families with students who have IEPs. And of course, our kindergarten readiness for 4-year-olds. Our proposal in getting Sable as a CDC allows for 4-year-olds to come full day, which will benefit our families in being able to have a safe place for their children to go to school while they work. And also developing partnerships with aftercare providers for those families who work an extended day, but they still want their child in a safe environment while they're at work. And increased access to high quality So district impact. The acquisition of Sable as a CDC gives us the opportunity to bring up to 50 more staff members on board. So that would be phenomenal for those staff members to get into our system, anchor themselves, so that once they anchor themselves at the CDC, we know that those staff members being in place over a long course of time is better for our children. Additional state reimbursement allows for more comprehensive and robust professional development. This will provide us opportunities to have professional development in-house, have lab classrooms where we can provide coverage for a teacher to go into a model preschool classroom to learn those tips and tricks to be able to implement into their classroom. And increase preschool enrollment to support the social, emotional, academic, and behavioral needs of our students. Because we know once students have a strong foundation in kindergarten, likely there will be greater success in kindergarten. We also know that, again, there was a lot of concern about closing the Sable Elementary. Opening it as a CDC makes it still accessible to the community. It keeps it within district so that our families can continue to serve or have the children served by our fabulous facilitators and parents. The support for accessing community resources and increase to safe, high-quality care for our young children is really important. What we're seeing, the need through the UPK process and surveying our families, they want their children in school all day so that they can work. They want their children in a space with teachers that look like them, that speak the language that they do. And this will give us the opportunity to meet that need for them. We are proposing indefinite use of Sable as a child development center beginning in July of 2023. That will allow us time to repurpose some of our spaces so that they are appropriate for licensing. It will give us time to install an appropriately heighted playground for our students. And it will allow us to have opportunities for the preschool families who will be coming to Sable to come in and see the space that they will be sending their children to. The district use of Sable will be funded through the UPK funding from the newly installed Colorado Department of Early Childhood. Any questions for me? I talk really
My question is whether or not I'm learning so much more about pre-K as I go through. Do parents get to choose the location of the CDC that their child goes to? And I know students who go through Child Find have extra services. How are those provided at the pre-K level?
Yes, so when families submit the parent application through UPK, they can choose their top 5 preferences, and they're matched. The state has a weighted measure, so if your child has a sibling that may have attended Sable, if they have a family member that attends Sable, then they get to choose which their top 5 are. So if we run into cases where Laredo CDC is full, we can reach out to the family to see if this makes more sense for their needs. We do partner regularly with Child Find and ESS, so having 2 autism rooms in the building would mean that that support staff would be in place. We're also having roundups at various locations throughout the community starting Friday, where we can begin the early screening of our students through Child Find before they come into preschool. Yes, please. If you'd like, I'd love it. Thank you for standing up. I appreciate that. Do you want me to come back to you after you think about it?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you say you were looking for 400 preschoolers to be enrolled here?
We would be able to serve 400 additional, yes.
How many preschoolers are at the current locations at each one?
So currently ratio is 1 to 8. So a classroom may have 16 students in it. Licensing will change to 20 next year. And some of our elementary schools, there may be one classroom, some have as many as 3. Our CDCs, their classes, the total number range from 8 up to 10. So the opportunity for Sable gives us 20 special classrooms.
So at Laredo, right now, what is your enrollment?
There are right at 400 students at Laredo CDC.
Okay, and you said the ratio is going to be 1 teacher to 20 students?
2, 1 facilitator, 1 para.
Sorry, she wasn't aware.
Oh.
So with that being said, you have, and I apologize because I stepped away for a second. You have multiple locations with a total of 400 currently enrolled?
No, across the district.
Thank you.
Across the district, we serve right under 2,200 students in our elementary schools, CDCs, and we partner with 8 community sites.
Right.
So having Sable as a CDC allows us an additional 400 students.
Okay, so who would be your constituency or your population here, age-wise?
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So pre-K.
Yes.
Okay, and do you, are you subsidized or are you private or who pays the bill?
The state of Colorado through the Colorado Department of Early Childhood, the per pupil reimbursement rate is what funds similarly to all of our students in our public schools.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned you'll have to make some changes to the playgrounds outside. What other changes inside the building would you need to make to accommodate 3 and 4-year-olds?
Well, they're vertically challenged a little bit, so we
Yeah.
have to lower the sinks so that they can get to them and wash their hands. We need to make sure the toilets are shorter so that they can get on them. If they come into the gym for lunch, we have to make sure the tables are appropriate for them to sit at and not too high. So very small tweaks need to be made because it's currently used for kindergarten students, which are not much typically taller than preschool students, so very minimal modifications need to be made to the building. In the preschool spaces, we do have, or the playground spaces, we do have to make sure that it's secure so that our students don't have access to any area that's unsafe. Ideally, we had 1 preschool room here. There's an exit door. It's not required to have it in every classroom, but that 1 space would have an exit door for drop off and pickup.
And how many classrooms would you utilize here?
20 general ed to autism classrooms.
Okay, right. So there would be a lot of things that would have to be changed. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And who pays for that?
We have grant funding available for that.
And have any of your other buildings ever had to be modified in that way for the other facilities?
So if there is an elementary school that doesn't have a preschool in it, a preschool classroom in it, and we want to add it, yes, there may be minor modifications that need to be done.
But
So,
it hasn't happened in like this situation where you had to like modify a building to meet the
No.
needs?
When the CDCs were built, they were built with that framework in mind, so we're already set up for our youngest learners.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for CDC? Did you figure out what you're gonna ask?
Yes.
You ready?
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I love that presence. That's amazing.
How many pre-kindergartners do you have?
Right now, 2,190. A lot. And one day they'll be 3rd grade like you, maybe? Are you in 3rd?
No, 2nd. I'm about to be in 3rd.
I know, I can tell. I thought 3rd grade was my favorite thing to do.
Do you have any other questions?
Potential preschoolers have to live in APS boundaries.
Yes.
That transition to elementary school, what does that handoff look like and how do we keep those kids in APS?
Yeah, so the handoff looks like it starts off with a kindergarten transition night. This year was virtual for our parents to attend and hear what kindergarten looks like and what to expect during the kindergarten year. The good thing about the preschoolers who are currently in an APS elementary school, they can just take a walk to see what their preschool classroom will look like, or their kindergarten classroom will look like. We have to be intentional about the CDCs and having a kindergarten transition where they get on the bus and they take a field trip over, or some of our families, since currently there's no contact days on Fridays, they can drive them over and see for themselves what the elementary school will be like in their home school. Thank you, you're welcome.
With the possible construction that needs to be done, and assuming that you take the building in July 1st, would it open on time?
I have been told that since it's minor modifications, it would be ready in time.
I like they made these nice and wide.
So in regards to the change in the allowance for how many, the ratios, what is the certification or credentialing of these individual or teachers that will be leading these students? Like, where do you draw from?
So currently our preschool facilitators and parents are classified staff. Some of them are licensed, it's not a requirement. You have to have a PDIS credential, Professional Development Information System. It's a credentialing through the state. They have to have a PDIS level 4. So we do have partnerships with Advanced EDU and PEBC. There are some community organizations that work with our preschool facilitators and parents who are interested in becoming licensed and putting them in a cohort and offering stipends for them to be able to actually afford to go to school, because we know that can be a financial burden on our staff, and it offers an alternative pathway to licensure. So at the end of your teaching certification, you typically have to do student teaching over the course of a quarter semester. Many people can't do that. That's a barrier to getting into the field of education. So those partnerships allow for your time served in the classroom to count towards your student teaching, so that you're not financially impacted by coming into our field.
Wonderful. And then, of course, without going into great detail, if you should know what the cost estimate would be to the needed modifications to the building. Has that been, have you gone that far?
We have not gotten that far yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Could this building possibly open up opportunity for high school students in APS to intern if interested in early education? And I believe there's pathways and programs happening right now. Like, could that be opened up, and to what extent?
Absolutely. We currently have student worker positions that are open. So if you know a high school student who has some time in their day, who would like to be employed by APS to come into our early childhood spaces, there are positions open currently that are grant funded for high school students to get just a taste of what it's like in this field, so that we can attract more to come into the field of education, because there is such a teacher shortage across the country. So that is currently in place now, and it is something that I'm looking forward to continuing going forward.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I appreciate your time tonight.
All right, thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be here to present our vision alongside with like-minded and like-hearted organizations. So thank you, APS, as well as the Sable community for this opportunity. As you said, I'm Joe Sanders from Colorado UpLift, and we have some of our team members here. In terms of our project team, I'm honored to represent this project team. But I'd like to highlight one particular team member. His name is Yvonne Anaya. And Yvonne was actually an UpLift student. He is currently on our board of directors, but he's also leading a lot of major community impact initiatives right here in the Aurora area. So I just wanted to say to Yvonne, thanks for being a part of the team, and we're proud of you. So some of you may know a little bit about Colorado UpLift. For those of you who don't, we're a nonprofit organization. We've been around for over 40 years. We've impacted over 100,000 students through our model, which is essentially connecting students to quality mentors and role models to provide a sense of caring and some consistency in their lives. And as we look at the programs, I won't get too bogged down into it because you're going to get a handout. But we have an in-school program where we actually teach accredited classes at the high school level around character, leadership, and life skills. In addition to that, we have an after-school program where we focus on mentoring, but also the venture program where we really get into growth through challenge. So we have kind of a comprehensive approach to impacting these kids. And when you look at some of the statistics, there's a lot of stats you can pull and speak to, and here are just a handful of them. But one that I think is quite telling and speaks volumes about the impact we're having is that bottom statistics there that says our students report feeling cared for and loved because of their UpLift mentor. And at a time when you look across our nation, when the national data shows that their peers, over half of these students are feeling a sense of isolation and not feeling a sense of connection, to have our students feel that way speaks volumes. So again, a little bit about us at Colorado UpLift. When you think about our mission, or if you want to know a little bit about our mission, we build these long-term, life-changing relationships. Like I said, it's based on these connections that we form with these kids. And some of the distinct ways we do that is with a full-time staff that represent the communities that we serve in. We also believe in holistic development, developing the whole child or the whole person. So we have holistic programming that really tries to meet the needs and impact kids in many areas. We have a long-term commitment with our kids, from elementary school, through middle school, through high school, and beyond. And the other thing I'd say about our program that makes us distinct is we actually engage and leverage cross-age mentoring, where our high school kids actually get a chance to teach the very same character qualities that they're learning at the middle and the high school level. So when we look at the campus, you've seen the handouts. One of the things I want to point out is that about 4 years ago, we drafted a strategic plan at Colorado UpLift. And part of this plan called for a campus that allowed us to be more integrated and more intentional with our work. And so we were thrilled, absolutely thrilled, when the RFP for Sable came out, because it seems like the ideal place for this vision to be realized. And in fact, Simple Brown and Brian's here who helped us out with this. We talked about this a couple years ago, laid out all the capabilities we want to provide, and he said, wow, this is like such a perfect fit for what you all are trying to do. And so we're excited about the opportunity to move forward with this proposal, and we hope that you see value in this as well. And when I say value, I want to highlight our value proposition. Here's what we believe that we can add to this community and why it would be a good fit for us to be here. First of all, partnership and presence. Colorado UpLift has been around, like I said, for over 40 years. We've been working with different school districts. We've been in DPS, or we are currently in DPS, as well as Westminster, but we also are in the Aurora public schools. In fact, a few of these schools are just a couple miles from here, or within a couple miles from here. And when I say partnership and presence, what I want to emphasize to you is when you think about East Middle School, or if you think about Aurora Elementary School, many of the kids that attend this school today will be going to those schools next year. We already have a presence in those schools. We have 4 programs in those schools right now. So think about your kids in this community going to one of those schools, but then being able to come back and walk the very same hallways that they're walking today, and play sports on the very same fields that they're playing on today as part of our Colorado UpLift program. So we'll be present with them when they go to East Middle School, and we'll be there for them when they go to Aurora Elementary School, but we'll also be there for them when they come back here. Partnership and presence. We also believe that we're offering up inclusive access. When we look at the proposal we have in front of you, it is very inclusive for the whole community. Something for the whole community. So whether you're a parent that's looking for a way to enroll your 10-year-old daughter into a soccer camp, or get her involved in a dance class, or whether you're someone who's new to the community and you're looking for some extra help and support in the English language. Or maybe you're somebody who's transitioning careers and you're looking to try to sharpen up some of your job skills. Well, if you are, this campus is for you. In terms of access, one of the beauties in what we're proposing is that we're actually going to have satellite setups for some of our community partners where they're actually co-located here with us to provide a variety of services for this community. Inclusive access is something that I know that we're offering. And then also dedicated investment. Dedicated investment. And what I mean by that is this. Colorado UpLift, our current budget, because we're a nonprofit, our current budget, less than 5% of our budget is funded by the government. And we're able to do this because we are blessed to have a group of long-term dedicated donors. And the same donors that believe in our mission also believe in the vision that we have for the campus here. And they also believe in the hope for the Sable community. So they're willing to continue to make that investment right here in this community, above and beyond any funds that we receive from the state or from the district level. Shared equity. As we build out this vision, we want to make sure that we're in collaboration with the community and that the services that we provide are the most effective and efficient services possible. Full utilization of the space, as I've mentioned before, it was almost like a hand-in-glove fit in terms of the vision that we have and the space that we occupy here. And pretty much every single square foot of this property will be used to help us realize our vision. And finally, creative innovation. As you think about the challenges that our society faces today, they're getting more and more and more complex. And they require more complex solutions. And dare I say, enterprise solutions. And so what we're offering up is a way for us to do something, frankly, that's not being done across this nation. A way to really engage in a comprehensive, integrated way of meeting the needs of our students, but also connecting directly with our community. It's different. It is very different. But we also think that's something we should embrace. And we want to pioneer and establish that with you. As I listened to some of the input that you all had during the decision to close Sable and even after the decision was made to close Sable, what I really started to understand and get from you all is that Sable Elementary represented so much more than just a building. It actually represented more than a school. It's something that is a vital presence in this community, a vital presence. And could you imagine if we were able to keep that vital presence alive, and then on top of that, create something that helps this whole community thrive? Along with imagining that, think about our students where they would always have a place to go or a mentor to talk to. or after-school programming to engage in, or be able to take leadership classes where they got certifications and certificates and things like professionalism and leadership, or be able to participate in the sports leagues or sports camps or some of the variety of programs that we would offer up. And then be inspired ultimately and empowered to pursue their purpose and to explore and fulfill on new possibilities for the future. Can you imagine that? And if you can imagine that, perhaps you could just go a little further with me and you can think about a community where families are able to get their whole needs met, their basic needs, because they have access to a resource center that's sensitive to those needs. You probably then see parents that are equipped both personally as well as professionally with the services that we'll provide from our local partners. And you can probably go further than that. Think about a community that would come together for events, to celebrate holidays, and to even do some community service. And I think a lot of you have this already, but we will give you that opportunity to come together with us on the 15th of April. We have a community service event that we'll be sponsoring and hosting, so we hope to see you all there. And it's called the Big Lift. Imagine leaders like our administrators, being able to show up and participate in workshops, seminars, or conferences, where they're exploring topics like how to integrate character in a classroom, or how to generate or foster positive behaviors in the classroom for their students. You didn't understand that? Let me say it again. These teachers would be able to come and participate in workshops. And picture community leaders just coming together, being able to share this space, to come up with cutting-edge research, looking for ways for us to develop best practices about how to develop leaders. Cultivating a network of current and future leaders. Because strong communities build strong leaders. And strong leaders build strong communities. Can you see that? I can. Well, with that said, we're looking to expand our reach. I mentioned earlier that we have a presence already in Aurora. Currently, we're in Aurora Elementary School, we're in East Middle School, we're in Gateway and Hinkley with full programming. We have a different presence, or less of a presence, or limited presence, I should say, in some of the other schools in Aurora as well. But those are the schools that we have full programming in, and what we're looking to do is relocate our operations here. One of the things that one of our board members, his famous for saying, Mr. Steve James, is like, you got to skate where the hockey puck's going to be. And we see a lot of our kids looking at demographic trend analysis moving towards Aurora. So we want to relocate here, establish our headquarters in this space, and that'll afford us the opportunity to reach an additional 1,000 children or kids in the next 3 to 5 years. So we want to expand that reach right here. Our plan and our terms, pretty straightforward. We are looking to purchase Sable Elementary School. It will be a cash purchase. Our board, our executive committee more specifically, has committed to securing the funding to purchase this property with a cash offer, as well as cover any additional renovation costs for this property. We'll take occupancy August of 2023, and then we'll continue to work with the community for ideas on how to expand and continue to invest in the future of Sable. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about our vision and what we would want to do with this property, but more importantly, how we want to meet the needs of the Sable community. I fully believe that this is the ideal location for us to realize the vision that I put before you. You, Sable, are our first choice. And we believe that together we'll be able to uplift the hearts and minds of this community and develop the next generation of leaders. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
How many students do you have?
So right now we work with 4,100 students across Aurora, Denver Public Schools, as well as in Westminster Public School System as well.
Wow.
Thank you. Question up here?
Will you give us like a schedule for us being here?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have a schedule of events, and like I said, we'll do a variety of events. What grade are you in?
Fifth, but like that's not what I mean. Like I mean like when is like recess gonna happen?
Well, I tell you what, yes, you'll have a schedule for the events that we have here for you. Absolutely.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
There are lots of students in the Sable community. How would they access the UpLift resources? Are there any criteria? Is the building open to all? How would a kid get involved?
Yeah, great question. And so the plan for us is through the schools, if we're in that school, they'd simply be able just to sign up for our program. And so they'd have access. So for instance, at Sable Elementary School now, over half the students at that school are in our program. And so they can simply just sign up for the program. If they're in East Middle School, they can sign up for the class. You got to.
Yeah, I think we've got a little bit of feedback too. I was trying to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me back up a little bit. So they would be able just to sign up for the class. But in terms of the activities that we do throughout the day, especially during the summer months and the after-school programming, that'll be just as simple as them showing up, again, signing up, and they'd be able to access the program that way. And what we would have is a scheduled events that we get out to the community to make sure that you knew what was coming up in advance. So if you wanted your kids to sign up for it, they did sign up.
So a student has to be affiliated with the school where UpLift is currently?
That's in addition to.
Okay.
So they have it both ways. So one way is to do the in-school program through the school. In addition to that, the after-school program is open to all. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Yvonne?
Just a follow-up to her, can you just talk a little bit about the plan for youth sports and sports leagues and how the Sable community can use it?
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I want you to say something a little bit later anyway, so. Yeah, so just, he was saying the plan for youth sports and sports leagues. So the vision for that is throughout the summer, we'll have a list of sports, and not just sports, but we're also gonna have classes, performing arts. I mentioned dance classes earlier. Ms. Dominique back there has great plan for that. And kids will be able to sign up for those programs. And not just the camp, like I said, but we actually have leagues that will be running throughout the school year and throughout the summer. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, he wants to make sure there's and there will be recess somewhere in there. Yes.
When will they like officially come to the school?
August 2023. Yeah, so we'll be here summer in enough time, hopefully get a few of these summer programs up and running for you. All right? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't have a question, more of a statement. I've been on staff with Colorado UpLift for over 4 years now, and so we actually are at Gateway High School, East Middle School, and Hinckley High School, as well as Aurora Elementary, which is what they're talking about. So many of the students that we work with on a day-to-day basis, we're in this area every single day, and there's a few students that I mentor myself along with the rest of my team, and they actually live on the street. So we're always here. So I just wanted to emphasize that to kind of piggyback with what we're talking about.
Yeah, that presence. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
My question is, we're talking about the services which sound amazing for our students and community. What is the cost to the families or the students? If there's no cost?
No cost to families. Like I said, we're a nonprofit organization, and so the cost will be paid basically by our donors. So we don't cost in the schools that we're in now. It doesn't cost the schools anything.
Even the sports, I mean, there's no cost to anyone.
Right.
I just make sure we're here.
Yes, ma'am.
You all remember that? So there's no cost.
That is right. That is right. So I will say this: we will have a resource center for families, and the model for that will probably be a donation model, where they would be able to come in and whether it's a food pantry or backpacks or something like that they need, if they want to make a donation to that to contribute, absolutely. But that will be available for them, at free of cost if they don't choose to make a donation. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So if I understood correctly, all of your funding is based on donation.
Yes.
How is that sustainable? And what's the duration and plan B when something happens, right? No one foresaw what happened to us in the last 3 years, and our economy is every day it's a roller coaster ride. So what are our assurances?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. Like I said, we do have about 5% of our funding that does come from government funding. But to your point, the vast majority is through our donors. And what we've actually found is that donation funding is actually a little more sustainable if you have the right donors than some of the government funding, because oftentimes that comes and goes based on certain agendas. Our experience, just feel very blessed over the past 40 years with the donors that we have. They have a heart for what we do, and as long as their heart is beating, what we do is still relevant and real to them. And so they've been able, and they have continued to give to us. So we are just fortunate in that way. I will say this, with lean times, I could imagine where programming costs, obviously we might have to cut back a little bit. So one summer, instead of 3 baseball teams, you might have 2. So those are definitely things that we would have to factor in if we didn't get the funding. But thus far, we've been blessed enough to have a sustained flow of donations.
And so, who are those donors? Is that list of groups, organizations that was on that second or third slide, or?
No, those donors, you can actually see them on our website, but those donors are prominent folks in this Colorado area. We have one, I'm sitting back here, if you don't mind me calling them out. Actually, we have 2 of our executive committee members. You all might just mind raising your hand. Mr. Jeff Vaughn is right there. Mr. Steve James, long-term donors to Colorado UpLift in our executive committee. It's about 18 folks that sit on that executive committee who've been with UpLift for some of them since the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I know that you have a lot of diverse different services. I'm just curious, on an average school day, how many students do you think you would be serving during the day?
On an average school day, I would say we would probably be looking at a couple hundred students a day on an average school day through our after-school programming. During the academic school year, but that's just here. But then when you look at across DPS, numbers on that, Brian, on a daily basis, how many students we're reaching?
2,500.
About 2,500, yeah, throughout APS and DPS. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey Joe, great job, thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Hey, listen, just to share with you, this young lady here that was asking the question about what the cost is. I'm a veteran of Colorado UpLift. My kids actually went to Axel Academy, so I'm a proponent for all teams here. And thank you for sharing as well, nothing on you. But Colorado UpLift provides an accredited elective course in the high school students. Joe alluded to that earlier. So they work directly with what we call UpLift, which is the high school level, and the high school students work with not only, and you missed this part, but the high school students actually go into the local elementary schools and teach, if you would excuse the expression, a dumbed down version of what they learn about positive work ethic or integrity or all the honesty. There's seven, I believe there's 7 traits.
13.
No, we're up to, when I was there, we're getting old. So there is no cost for anything that UpLift does. It's an elective course that, and Mr. James here, they alluded to, I know Steve for over 10, 15 years. He actually funded me to go, they're gonna go to Mexico soon. They take high school students and they have to go through a leadership program, and they go to Mexico and they build houses for poor folk. And this is something that's done. They fundraise, they do banquets. We have a gala. Again, I haven't been involved with UpLift for a lot of time. I golf with a couple of the guys that are part of the UpLift staff. And I know one of this young lady that walked through the door, I was a mentor when she was a student. Serena, I believe Serena was one of your mentors that was up with me on the team. And we taught at Lincoln High School, West, East, with what's just gone on. We were at East High School. We're all over the city. And these guys are legit. So I think that's the point I should have.
Appreciate that. And one point I was going to add to what you mentioned, Ms. Lilly here, about a third of our staff actually used to be students as well.
Yep.
And again, we're just grateful to have Lilly on staff too.
Joe, I'm going to pass the mic to the gentleman that I've had the longest relationship with, my childhood friends, Joe Broussard.
All right, thank you.
Can you, the efforts of Colorado UpLift have been duplicated several times around the country. You made one statement that you said, this is our first choice. Sable is our first choice. What, if you were to dream of what that could mean and what the nation could learn about Aurora and about this community, because if the vision of this campus actually happened, tell us about that.
Yeah, the reason why Aurora is our first choice, when we look at the demographics, it fits clearly the demographics that we serve typically. But as I said before, I had a chance to listen in on some of the town hall type meetings you had, and I got to sit in person to the input session and just really hearing the heart of this community. When they talked about the desire to come together, to have unity, they talked about the preserving diversity. It just felt like this would be the ideal place for us to be. But also having this as a blueprint for how to do community engagement across this nation. I really believe that we can do something that's not being done. I really do believe that. And it won't be because Colorado UpLift has great ideas. It'll be because this community has a heart for making a difference in the community and the lives of our kids. We just want to be a part of that.
Dr. Sanders, just in all fairness to all vendors, we have about time for maybe one, possibly 2 more questions. We've only got about a minute left.
Okay, thank you.
More than a question, this is a comment. I've been working for Sable for almost 9 years. And I really appreciate in the way that you talk about this community, because I think that's something that unfortunately was missed. I know that all the proposals are good, but unfortunately not all of them include our whole community. And I just appreciate that our community is going to be able to stay and to help others. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alright, my name is Kavon. I'm one of the interns for Colorado UpLift. So I just wanted to give you a quick little story. So I used to be a kind of former half student of Colorado UpLift. I was actually in a different district, but I was attached to a mentor from Colorado UpLift, and he definitely helped me along the way. Learning a lot of valuable things, man. Pulled me out of the fire a few times, right? Struggled a little bit. graduated in high school from COVID, right, from 2020. And my mentor still stayed with me. Now I'm in college, right, and he's still with me. And I've been granted this opportunity with permission from CEO, Dr. Joe, to be able to be an intern as a college student, so I can personally attest to, hey, the long term is actually real and the life changing is legit, right? So we're not just kind of just saying anything just to sell it, right? We're actually saying things that are impactful. There's plenty of UpLift staff that used to be UpLift students, and now we get a chance to give back on what the chances and the gems that we've been given. So,
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it.
We unfortunately are out of time. I told him I was a stickler. You know, I warned you from the beginning. Thank you, and we are trying to take this process very seriously and fairly for all of our vendors, and we are so appreciative that you made the trek out here. Before you leave, please hold your phones up and take a photo of that QR code. You are now able to take that survey. It's live.